Chapter 2872. Ji Feiyu clutched his sleeves tightly. He looked at Mo Zhuling with a pale face and asked, "Why?" "Because I'm happy, of course." Mo Zhuling sneered and looked at him with satisfaction. "Who told a useless toad like you to want to eat swan meat? Your family Ji isn't a good person either. You're forcing me to marry a useless person like you. Aren't you just bullying me because my status is too low? Now that young Master Lu Yu is deeply in love with me, do you still want me to marry a useless person like you?" Mo Zhuling sneered and said viciously in his ear, "Do you know that I feel disgusted when I see you? With your strength, you're not even fit to carry my shoes. If it weren't for your family Ji's strong power, why would I maintain our engagement for more than 10 years? I didn't want to marry you from the start. But you, a useless and sickly person, just had to block my way. Why don't you go and die? If you had died, I wouldn't have had an engagement with you. So, today's humiliation is entirely because you brought it upon yourself." With every sentence Mo Zhuling said, Ji Feiyu tightened his grip on his sleeves. He didn't want to block her way. As long as she said so, he would move aside. He had protected her from disaster for more than 10 years. If it weren't for him, how many good days would she have had with this engagement? The family Ji was never lacking in ruthlessness. He only wanted to move aside at the most appropriate time. He never wanted to occupy her. If it weren't for the fact that he could suddenly cultivate, he also wouldn't have come to propose. Who would have thought that his momentary lapse in judgment would actually bring him such a great humiliation? Ji Feiyu looked at Mo Zhuling with a pale face. In the end, he didn't say anything and turned to leave. At this moment, the middle-aged man from the Lu family spoke up. "Hold on. Just now, you said who wanted to massacre here." Beside him stood Mo Zhuling's trusted servant girl. It went without saying who told him this. The middle-aged man didn't think much of it. He was just someone from an 8-star region. What's more, he was a piece of trash who could be easily dealt with. It was good to make Mo Zhuling happy. Young Master had instructed them to keep a high profile so that Mo Zhuling wouldn't have the chance to pester him about his absence. After all, for a woman like Mo Zhuling, why would their young master need to personally come and ask for her hand in marriage? She should take a look at herself and see if she had the guts to do so. However, since the young master wasn't here, he had to maintain his reputation, so as not to embarrass him. When his voice rang out, the faces of Sui Yu and the others abruptly stiffened. Ji Feiyu slowly turned around and said, "I said it." Then, he said to the middle-aged man from the Lu clan, "Let them go. I'll do whatever you want to me." "Young master." When Sui Yu and the others heard this, their eyes turned red. How could they bear to see Ji Feiyu being tortured for their sake? They hated that Qin Xiong and the others ran away too quickly. If they were here, they could definitely send the young master away with their help. That way, it wouldn't matter even if they died here. As they thought about it, they suddenly felt a wave of sorrow. At this moment, a meow sounded in Ji Feiyu's mind. Then, a pure white figure rushed into his arms. "I really can't take it anymore. You bastard, they're already F***ing pissing and shitting on your head. You really let them sh**t. Chapter 2873. Luo Qingtong's voice sounded and she was about to explode. She didn't want to make a move at first. She had pretended to be a little white cat for so long. How could she fail at this point? But damn it, that woman Mo Zhuling was too much of a bully. If she wanted to break off the engagement, so be it. Why did she have to force him to his death? The one who had let her down wasn't Ji Feiyu, but the family Ji. Did she have the ability to make her lover, the young master of the Lu family, beat the family Ji up? If she didn't have the ability, then she should F***ing hold it in. What was the point of bullying an honest person? She hated this kind of B*TCH who wanted to set up a monument to her chastity. What did Ji Feiyu do to you? Why did you have to humiliate him to death? Just because he was a good-for-nothing. You were lying on the bed like a pile of mud. Ji Feiyu hadn't broken off the engagement. Now that he could cultivate, he didn't even think about breaking off the engagement. Previously, he wanted to break off the engagement because he was thinking about you. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have isolated Ji Feiyu from the blood curse. She would have let him break off the engagement with you with a good-for-nothing body so that he wouldn't be humiliated by you. What the F***ck? Luo Qingtong was furious. When her voice sounded, Ji Feiyu's expression froze. Little 7. His expression was one of surprise, joy, and disbelief. Ji Feiyu was completely stunned. He looked at the little white cat in his arms and thought about the voice in his mind. He didn't come back to his senses for a long time. The little white cat was little 7, the little white cat was little 7. Ji Feiyu was stunned. Luo Qingtong meowed impatiently. Then, she used her claws to pull at his sleeve, urging him to hurry up and make a move. Don't King dawdle. Didn't you see that Mo Zhuling was about to recognize it? In fact, that was the case. Mo Zhuling looked at the little white cat in Ji Feiyu's arms. The more he looked at it, the more familiar it looked, but he wasn't sure. Ji Feiyu, where did you get this white cat from? She demanded. Ji Feiyu ignored her completely. He didn't have any feelings for Mo Zhuling to begin with. His consideration and care for her in the beginning was entirely due to his responsibility as her fiancé. Since Mo Zhuling didn't need it, there was no need for him to force himself to continue. At this moment, he was looking down at the little white cat in his arms. Then, he said in his mind, what should I do? He was not strong enough. Even if he could cultivate, he would not be able to refute Mo Zhuling, let alone deal with the people of the Lu family. I already said that I'll help you. Just trust me. You said that to them. Luo Qingtong instructed him carefully. Ji Feiyu listened carefully and nodded without hesitation. How could he not trust little 7? She was the one who cured him of his problem of not being able to cultivate. This time, she stood up for him again. Even if Luo Qingtong wanted him and Mo Zhuling to die together for her own grievances, or even if both sides suffered great losses, he didn't care. Okay. Ji Feiyu nodded. Then, he looked at the middle-aged man from the Lu family and said, I was the one who said that I wanted to wash this place with blood. Mo Zhuling slandered me and called me trash. Also, she was the one who hooked up with the Lu family first and then betrayed our family Ji's engagement. Our family Ji wants to seek justice. Can't we do that? Or is it that the Lu family is so fictitious? You have to know that the engagement between her and I was already set 10 years ago. Could it be that the Lu family has been with her longer than me? Chapter 2874. He looked at Ji Feiyu and said coldly, You've always been a piece of trash. What's wrong with Miss Mo not wanting to marry a piece of trash like you? Your Ji family lied to us in the first place, so our young master naturally has to save Miss Mo. Don't tell me you dare to blame our young master for interfering and stealing your fiancé. He sneered. Even if this was the truth, he couldn't say it out loud. He couldn't let others say it out loud. Otherwise, where would the Lu family's face go? Ji Feiyu's face was as cold as the snow in the mountains, ethereal and immortal. He said coldly, I said, I'm not a piece of trash. Your Lu family and Mo Zhuling are just twisting the truth to cover up your disgusting actions. If you don't believe me, you can fight with me. You can send anyone you want. But if I win, you have to admit that you've been secretly colluding with each other. Mo Zhuling is a fickle man. Our family G doesn't want him. At that time, I'll naturally break off the engagement in front of everyone and announce it publicly. Your Lu family can't stop me. You can't take revenge because of this. If your Lu family wins, I'll let you do whatever you want with me. I'll admit that I'm a piece of trash and crawl out of the main square. I'll tell everyone that I'm a piece of trash and that I've let down Mo Zhuling. She should be with your young master. Ji Feiyu's words shocked Sueyu and the others. Young master. The price of this competition was too high. Young master couldn't cultivate at all. Although this problem had been solved, his strength couldn't be compared to those people from the Lu family. These people were all guards. Their strength was above theirs and they were all at the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm. The middle-aged man in the lead was infinitely close to the human martial arts realm. With such strength, even if the young master could cultivate, his strength couldn't be compared to the other party at all. Sueyu and the others wanted to rush up to stop them, but they were stopped by Ji Feiyu. He had the same solemn and resolute expression as when he dealt with Qin Xiong and the others. This concerns the century-old reputation of my family Ji and my own reputation. Lu family, do you dare to accept my challenge? If I were trash, then I wouldn't have a single word of complaint even if you were to humiliate and slander me. However, if I'm not a good-for-nothing, then your Lu clan will bully my Ji clan and steal my fiancé. Mo Zhuling is a fickle woman who despises the poor and loves the rich. Apologize for me and the Ji family. Although the Ji family is an 8-star region's family and is not as powerful as your Lu family, this matter concerns our reputation and prestige. We don't dare not fight with you. Of Sfeiyus of Yi. At this point, the Lu family and Mo Zhuling had no way to back down. Of him. Mo Zhuling gritted his teeth. She wanted to use the Lu family's power and prestige to give Ji Feiyu a hard blow. She wanted to let this piece of trash know that he couldn't touch someone like her. Who did he think he was to want to marry her? But she didn't expect that this piece of trash, Ji Feiyu, who obviously couldn't cultivate, didn't run away after being humiliated by her. Instead, he wanted to use the fact that she was with Lu Yu even though she hadn't broken off the engagement with him to compete with the Lu family. Once they competed in martial arts, regardless of whether Ji Feiyu won or lost, she would definitely be labeled as a slut who was unwilling to be married to her husband and had no self-respect. Chapter 2875. Damn it, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have acted out in a moment of anger. As Mo Zhuling thought of this, she gritted her teeth so hard that they creaked. She had not expected Ji Feiyu to do this. This piece of trash was already so useless. Not to mention the Lu family, even if he were to compete with anyone from the Star Alliance, he would definitely die. Under such circumstances, he still dared to propose a competition to the Lu family. He was clearly prepared to use his worthless life to make her pay the price. He was really ruthless. While Mo Zhuling was feeling angry and resentful, the people from the Lu family also thought of this. They looked at Ji Feiyu with disdain and mockery instead of hesitation and doubt. So he wants to win some face for the family Ji and make Mo Zhuling pay a price at the same time. The middle-aged man from the Lu family thought that he had seen through Ji Feiyu's plan. He was full of disdain. Since Ji Feiyu was determined to die, why not fulfill his wish? No matter what, the Lu family's reputation could not be tarnished. The young master's reputation could not be tarnished either. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt a little dissatisfied with Mo Zhuling's insistence that they come today to propose marriage to her. This woman was really vain and extremely vicious. It was not enough for her to publicly reject the family Ji's marriage proposal and trample Ji Feiyu into the mud. She still wanted them to come and add to her glory. If not for this, they would not have fallen into such a troublesome situation and suffered for no reason. It was also because the young master wanted to keep her that she was still useful. Otherwise, who would care about her? It was so disgusting. Thinking of this, the middle-aged man's face suddenly revealed an extremely disgusted expression. At the same time, he said to Ji Feiyu in a cold and arrogant voice, "Fine, since you don't know what's good for you and insist on slandering our young master. Then for the sake of our young master's reputation, we have no choice but to compete with you. I hope that in the future, you will not confuse right and wrong in public." He said so matter-of-factly. These words immediately made Sui Yu and the others, who knew the truth of the matter, vomit in their hearts. They looked in the direction of Mo Zhuling and the Lu family with angry and bloodshot eyes. If anything happened to young master today, they would not let them off. Even if he had to die for a righteous cause, he would make Mo Zhuling and the others pay the price. They glared angrily at Mo Zhuling and the others, but the latter did not take them seriously at all. "Humph." Mo Zhuling sneered. Just these people from the Ji family wanted to touch her. She had people from the Lu family by her side. So what if Ji Feiyu used his life to announce what she had done to the world? So what if she deliberately seduced the young master of the Lu family because she despised the poor and loved the rich? Lu Yu was deeply in love with her. Not only that, she had the ability to control the black fog. Why would she be afraid that Lu Yu would not want her? Ji Feiyu wanted her reputation to be tarnished and her dream of marrying into the Lu family would be shattered. This was simply impossible. Thinking of this, her expression suddenly became arrogant and vicious again. She would watch how Ji Feiyu died. A piece of trash like him dared to play tricks with her. She. While her expression was arrogant and vicious, on the other side of the banquet, Yuan Hu and the others were stunned when they saw the little white cat jump into Ji Feiyu's arms. Chapter 2876. Yuan Hu's voice was so loud that he almost shouted out loud, but Ling Yu, and Su Xiaoxiao covered his mouth together. "Shut up. Why are you so loud? Are you trying to kill that little white cat?" Su Xiaoxiao and the others stared at him. Then, they looked at the little white cat lying on Ji Feiyu's body and frowned. "It should be. The day we competed with Zhu Yujie and the others seemed to be the day the family Ji's people came to Star City," Su Xiaoxiao said. Her voice rang out. In an instant, everyone's brows furrowed even tighter. If this little white cat was really Ji Feiyu's pet, then they owed him a big favor. It seemed that this little white cat had wandered around after arriving at Star City and accidentally entered the mirror array and saved them. If that was the case, then they owed Ji Feiyu their lives. They could not stand by and do nothing. "Let's go and find Elder Fong and the others. No matter what, we can't let anything happen to Ji Feiyu during the competition." With that thought, they immediately rushed to find Elder Fong and the others. When Elder Fong and the others heard the purpose of their visit, they immediately looked troubled. "Young friends. To be honest, we can't do anything about this. The Lu family is not someone we can deal with." Elder Fong and the others looked helpless. It was not that they did not want to help Ji Feiyu and the others, but the current situation was that Ji Feiyu was up against the Lu family. They did not expect that Mo Zhuling would be able to get in touch with the young master of the Seven-Star Field's aristocratic family and make him come to propose marriage. Although that young master Lu Yu himself didn't come, those people he sent, which one of them wasn't one of his trusted guards? Otherwise, how could he have such strength and lineup? In a situation where they couldn't expose Yi Qinren's identity and token, they couldn't fight against the Lu family. Moreover, even if they exposed it, the other party might not believe them. What kind of existence was the young emperor of Tiandu? Back then, the Tianxian guards had all come out to respectfully invite Yi Qianxian back to the palace. That scene was something that Elder Qiongfang and the others would never be able to imagine or forget in their entire lives. Just one of those heavenly profound guards was enough to massacre their star field. How could the Lu family of the Seven-Star Field compare to them? Perhaps the people of the Lu family had never heard of his name and existence. Under such circumstances, even if they had the token of the young emperor of Tiandu, it would be useless. Everyone frowned as they thought about it. When Su Xiaoxiao and the others heard this, they couldn't hide their disappointment. But soon, they pulled themselves together. It's fine. The Lu family doesn't know how powerful the Lord is, but Mo Zhuling and the leader of the Star Alliance can't ignore this, right? When the time comes, we'll directly save Ji Feiyu. I don't believe that the leader of the Star Alliance and the others will watch the Lu family kill us. Even if they really want to do that and kill with a borrowed knife, his subordinates won't dare. When the time comes, we'll force them to let go. Su Xiaoxiao and the others said. They thought it through. If they couldn't deal with the Lu family, then they would force Mo Zhuling and the leader of the Star Alliance to let go. Didn't young Master Lu Yu like Mo Zhuling? Then his subordinates should listen to Mo Zhuling and the leader of the Star Alliance. With this thought in mind, everyone immediately returned to where they were. Chapter 2877. At this moment, the people of Star City who originally wanted to see Mo Zhuling's marriage proposal banquet on the high platform had gathered around. After all, not everyone was qualified to enter the high platform and participate in Mo Zhuling's marriage proposal banquet. However, the people of Star City didn't want to miss such a grand event, so they all gathered around the plaza to watch. Earlier, when the Lu family's people entered the plaza, they caused a huge commotion. This group of people was simply too powerful. It was impossible for the people living in the Star City to not have such eyesight. They easily discovered that the people from the Lu family who came were all top-notch experts. Their strength was almost comparable to the higher-ups of the Star Alliance. This kind of lineup was obviously from a higher-level star domain. However, the family Ji's people had already entered the plaza. Many people had even seen Ji Feiyu's graceful bearing and sighed in their hearts that Mo Zhuling was really lucky to be able to marry such a godlike person. However, now that another group of people had suddenly arrived, and from the looks of it, they were even stronger than the family Ji's people. How could the people not be curious? Immediately, all the people gathered here. Even those who didn't plan on coming to see this scene were attracted by the rumors and discussions of the crowd. Just as the people in the plaza were guessing who the Lu family's people were, Ji Feiyu and the Lu family's people came down and confronted each other in the arena. Only then did the crowd understand what was going on. So these people are actually from the 7-star field. Yeah. I heard that they're here to steal the bride. No, that's not right. According to the family Ji's people, when they were proposing marriage to Mo Zhuling, they were humiliated by the eldest Mississippi. After that, the Lu family's people came to propose marriage to the eldest Miss and support her. Oh my God, doesn't this mean that the eldest Miss was clearly engaged to the family Ji's people, but because she knew the young master of the 7-star field's aristocratic family, she despised the family Ji's people? That's not very nice. Yeah. Wasn't this too fickle and vicious? She even deliberately humiliated the young master of the family Ji. But I heard that she said that the son of the family Ji is a good-for-nothing. I don't know if it's true. Even if it's true, you can't break off the engagement, right? Moreover, he was humiliating others so brazenly. I think that the family Ji didn't dislike eldest Miss before, and the engagement has existed for so many years. It means that eldest Miss herself agreed to it. In the end, after getting to know the young master of an aristocratic family in the 7-star field, he hastily cast aside his family Ji and wantonly humiliated him. Isn't that too much? Yes, yes. Mo Zhuling clenched his teeth as the people below discussed animatedly. After this incident, her reputation could be said to have been completely ruined. But it didn't matter. As long as the Lu clan won this competition in a high-profile manner, the Lu clan would be able to win. She would be able to use the Lu family's prestige and power to shut everyone up. So what if she despised the good-for-nothing Ji Feiyu? She just felt that the family Ji was of no use to her, so he could get lost. What could the others do to her if she did that? In this world, power was the truth. There was no exception. Humph. Mo Zhuling's expression was arrogant and vicious. Beside him, the leader of the Star Alliance also looked a little embarrassed, but he didn't take this matter to heart. After all, most of these discussions were directed at Mo Zhuling and didn't affect him. Chapter 2878. The leader of the Star Alliance believed that these people would shut their mouths soon after the Liu family revealed their true strength. He and Mo Zhuling had the same thoughts on this point. They didn't think that these people's discussions would affect them in any way. After all, in this world, only true strength could be relied on. While the leader of the Star Alliance and Mo Zhuling were feeling proud and complacent, Ji Feiyu stood on their side in the arena. He looked in the direction of the Liu family and asked softly in his mind, "Okay, little seven, what do I need to do next?" "You don't need to do anything. Just wait for the arena to start. When the time comes, open up all your defenses and mind. As long as you trust me, I won't let you lose," Luo Qingtong said in his arms. She was still nestled in Ji Feiyu's arms, taking the opportunity to block Mo Zhuling's gaze. She couldn't let that woman Mo Zhuling recognize her. Otherwise, it would cause trouble. "Okay." Ji Feiyu smiled and nodded. He didn't say anything else. How could he not trust Luo Qingtong? If he didn't trust her, he wouldn't be standing here. Using his life to bet on a person's words, in the eyes of others, this might be a very inconceivable thing. But in Ji Feiyu's heart, he was willing to bet. He trusted Luo Qingtong unconditionally. She clearly didn't need to stand up for him, but she stood up for him. If he didn't trust her, who else could he trust? Thus, one man and one cat stood quietly on one side of the arena. Sueyu and the others stood behind Ji Feiyu, outside the arena. They didn't move their eyes away from his back. They wouldn't stop their young master's decision. But if something happened to their young master, they would sacrifice themselves for him. Even if they had to risk their lives, they would make Mo Zhuling pay the price. Even if that kind of price was so insignificant compared to their lives. They wouldn't regret it. At this moment, the middle-aged man from the Liu clan stepped forward. "You're just a junior in the Dongting family Ji. Although we want to seek justice and reputation for our young master, we can't use our strength to suppress you. How about this, we'll send out one of our young master's personal manservants, the one who just came to read the list of gifts, to compete with you. As long as you can beat him, we'll consider it your win." As he spoke, he gestured for a man dressed like a manservant to come forward. This man's body was thin and weak. It seemed like his strength had just passed the exalted realm. He was at the initial stage of the exalted realm. However, only the middle-aged man from the Liu clan knew that the manservant was Liu Yu's trump card. Moreover, if he were to unleash his true strength, he would be even stronger than him. This was because the manservant had cultivated an extremely sinister and terrifying secret technique. It burned one's lifespan to obtain strength. Normally, they looked similar to ordinary warriors. However, in battle, they could burn their own lifespan to increase the power of their attacks. The more lifespan they burned, the stronger the strength they could unleash. This secret technique was extremely harsh to cultivate, but it was effective and concealed. It was perfect for a personal bodyguard. Chapter 2879. Firstly, it would help Liu Yu gain a good reputation. Secondly, it would put Ji Feiyu to death. As Mo Zhuling's fiancé, he had a grudge against Mo Zhuling for breaking off the engagement. In the future, he might spread unfavorable remarks about the Liu family. It was better to eliminate him, lest the Liu family and the young master's reputation be tarnished. However, they had to eliminate him beautifully. They couldn't let others have a hold on them. Therefore, it was just right to use this personal servant as a trump card. Because their attacks were powerful, other than the people who were fighting with them, no one else knew. They would think that he was a real venerable state expert, so as not to let others have a hold on him. When the middle-aged man's voice sounded, the surrounding people were surprised. They didn't expect the Liu family to be so magnanimous. No wonder he's from the 7-star field family. That's right. This method is really very magnanimous. Could it be that the family G is framing the Liu family? I don't think the Liu family is the kind of person who would take advantage of someone else's engagement to seduce someone else's fiancé, and deliberately humiliate and trample on someone else when the other party proposes. Yes. Could it be that the family G saw that they couldn't win against the Liu family, so they deliberately spread the word to slander the Liu family's reputation? No way. If that's the case, isn't this family G's son too vicious? If he can't win against others, then so be it. He actually set up such a lie to frame the Liu family. As the crowd said this, they secretly glanced at Ji Feiyu. Many people showed disdain on their faces because of this. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Sueyu and the others changed. They looked at the people below who didn't know the truth at all. Seeing that they actually put such vicious and humiliating conjectures on their young master, they immediately felt heartache and anger for their young master. His mistake back then should have resulted in good karma. But now, he received evil retribution that ordinary people couldn't imagine. If they had known this would happen, they would rather their young master not be so kind and generous. He should have trampled and humiliated Mo Zhuling with all his might back then. She should have resolutely refused to get engaged with Mo Zhuling. She should have immediately called off her engagement with Mo Zhuling as soon as she was able to cultivate. She should have called him a wretch who was delusional. This way, his young master would not suffer such slander and persecution. He was clearly such a gentle and kind person. Sueyu and the others were so distressed that tears fell from their eyes. Luo Qingtong looked at the personal servant sent by the Liu family and snorted. These people from the Liu family really know what it means to be a B***TCH while maintaining a monument to her chastity. No wonder they were able to mix with Mo Zhuling. None of them are good people. Each and every one of them was trash, despicable, and disgusting. Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. Serves them right for being together. Don't go and harm others. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Ji Feiyu immediately coughed softly. He originally wanted to tell Luo Qingtong that it wasn't good for a girl to say such things. Moreover, there was no need to dirty her mouth for people like Mo Zhuling and the Liu family. But when the words came to his mouth, he felt that she had scolded them well. Chapter 2880. As he spoke, he furrowed his brows and secretly recalled the familiar feeling that the other party's aura gave him. Ji Feiyu was a cultivation genius. He had read most of the cultivation manuals in the world. The more one couldn't cultivate, the more one wanted to find a way to cultivate. Therefore, Ji Feiyu had read many treasured manuals. Some were from his family Ji, and some were from other families and forces. He was a genius. Even if someone gave him a copy that couldn't be cultivated, he would still be able to restore the original cultivation version from those ancient books. He could even improve it. Now that he saw the aura of this manservant, he instantly sensed that something was wrong. This was a keen perception that came from his own cultivation. Ji Feiyu was a genius born for cultivation. After hearing his words, Luo Qingtong was surprised. Yes, his aura isn't right. It's clearly the strength and aura of someone who just entered the venerable realm. But when the time comes, the real strength that he can emit will be more than that. It's very likely that he will be stronger than those guards of the Liu family, or even that middle-aged man. What, you can also see that something is wrong with him. Luo Qingtong was surprised. She could only see it with her blood eyes. Other people, even those who were far stronger than the manservant, might not be able to see through it. But Ji Feiyu could see through it. Yes. Ji Feiyu nodded. I've seen this cultivation method in an ancient manual. The aura he exhales and the local details, as well as some subtle reactions that can only be seen after cultivating that method, are exactly the same as that cultivation method. At the end, he added, I know how to break this cultivation method. Pfft. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong immediately laughed and couldn't help but roll around in Ji Feiyu's arms. Ha! Mo Zhuling, that idiot. I'm dying of laughter. Ha ha ha. Luo Qingtong was overjoyed. Ji Feiyu was such a genius, and his personal servant's cultivation method was so powerful. If it wasn't for her special blood pupil, she wouldn't have been able to see through it. Ji Feiyu, on the other hand, was able to find it based on the characteristics of the other party's cultivation. Not only that, he was also able to break it. Where could he find such a cultivation prodigy? As time passed, Ji Feiyu's strength grew to a level that few could match. Not to mention the help it could bring to others, it was like the 100 treasures pouch of the cultivation world. Mo Zhuling had found the young master of an aristocratic family from the 7-star field and had even banished Ji Feiyu to the mud for him. Even if she were to find a young master of a family from a 1-star domain, their future growth in cultivation and strength might not be able to compare to Ji Feiyu. Mo Zhuling, that idiot, was simply throwing away a watermelon to pick up a sesame seed. Chapter 2881. Ji Feiyu stopped his conversation with Luo Qingtong in his mind and focused on the servant in front of him. Please. His voice was cold and his expression was as calm as usual. If one were to judge from his expression, no one would believe that he had no strength at all. What he did have was that he had just advanced to the martial royal realm after cultivating for the past few days. His current strength was nothing in front of an expert who had just entered the venerable realm. Even if he were to face a random cultivator from a low-level continent, he would not be able to do much. However, Ji Feiyu indeed only had this level of strength. He trusted Luo Qingtong in his heart and was not flustered or anxious. When he spoke, Luo Qingtong's voice also sounded in his mind. Release your mind in defense. As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, Ji Feiyu released all his defenses, including the mind in his mind. Boom! Luo Qingtong's mind power instantly invaded his mind like a sharp sword. For a cultivator, this kind of invasion was very uncomfortable. In particular, Luo Qingtong's mind power penetrated deep into his soul. Supreme Eye Technique, Contract. Strength, Copy. Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes instantly used one of her Supreme Eye Technique skills and copied her strength onto Ji Feiyu's body. She had used this ability on Song Qing before. At that time, Song Qing, who was a complete waste of inscriptions, was able to use inscription techniques in the inscription tower through her ability. At this moment, her ability was being used on Ji Feiyu again. This was also the reason why Luo Qingtong wanted Ji Feiyu to trust her. This was because only with complete trust could her eye technique replicate her own strength onto him. As long as Ji Feiyu rejected the skill would not succeed. The outcome of failing was obvious. Ji Feiyu would die in this competition. Therefore, Luo Qingtong was helping Ji Feiyu. Actually, he was helping himself. If he couldn't trust Luo Qingtong, then everything would be in vain. As for the humiliation he had suffered, it was time for him to take it back with his own hands. That would be perfect and carefree. Boom! The moment Luo Qingtong activated her eye technique, the Lu family's personal manservant also launched his attack. His figure instantly appeared in front of Ji Feiyu. It seemed that his attack was only at the level of a beginner venerable. However, only Ji Feiyu and Luo Qingtong, who who were directly facing this storm, knew that the strength displayed by the other party in this club was completely the strength of the Amethyst Elder Stage 9. These people from the Lu family were really vicious and merciless. They used a killing move the moment they attacked. They didn't want to give Ji Feiyu any chance to make a comeback. They just wanted to torture him to death. When his attack sounded, Ji Feiyu's body suddenly exploded with a violent aura. This aura naturally came from Luo Qingtong's Supreme Eye technique. Similarly, the strength of the Amethyst Elder Stage 9 erupted from Ji Feiyu's body. However, this kind of copy could only be maintained for 3 breaths of time. This was also under the condition that Luo Qingtong used her eye technique with all her strength. After this use, she wouldn't be able to use her eye technique for at least a month. However, it didn't matter. Her willingness couldn't be bought with money. Chapter 2882. I'm afraid that the previous lesson from the mirror array was not enough to teach Mo Zhuling a lesson. This time, I'll borrow Ji Feiyu's hand to teach him a lesson again. Luo Qingtong thought. She immediately jumped down from Ji Feiyu's body and left the arena with a few leaps. Her voice resounded in Ji Feiyu's mind. Ji Feiyu, I'll lend you my power for 3 breaths of time. In other words, you only have 3 chances to attack. Do what you want to do. Attack the person from the Lu clan. Although I'm lending you this power, your power in the future will not be inferior to this. I'm just letting you experience this feeling in advance. At the same time, I'll also let you have a chance to avenge your previous humiliation. The rest is up to you. Meow. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She squatted on one side of the arena and watched the battle between Ji Feiyu and the personal servant from the Lu clan. When Ji Feiyu heard her words in his mind, he immediately understood. I understand. He would remember this kindness. Ji Feiyu did not know how Luo Qingtong did it. She was actually able to lend her power to him. However, after today, he would keep this matter to himself and would not tell anyone. He would also not harm Luo Qingtong because of this secret. If he swore this oath, he would be struck by lightning and be punished by both gods and demons. After making such a solemn vow in his heart, his figure abruptly turned, and in an instant, he faced the attack of the personal servant who was rushing over. His opponent's strength was extremely strong. However, Ji Feiyu felt that the power in his body was even stronger than the power that his opponent obtained by burning his lifespan. They were both at the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm. Ji Feiyu felt that he could easily crush his opponent. However, Ji Feiyu did not want to do so. He knew his opponent's weak point and also knew the way to break this vicious cultivation method. Under such circumstances, he did not need to use Luo Qingtong's full strength to avoid causing unnecessary trouble for her. Although his opponent might not care. But he cared. What's more, he wanted to use his own method to win a fair and square match on this battle stage. He was not a good-for-nothing. Even if he could not cultivate before, he was not a good-for-nothing who overestimated his own abilities and wanted to eat swan meat like Mo Zhuling said. He Luo Qingtong's previous humiliation, he would return it all. In his own way. Boom. Ji Feiyu's move. He suppressed the power of his attack to the level of a venerable one and aimed it at the servant's weak point. Ji Feiyu had read the ancient records of this cultivation method. Naturally, he knew the various aspects of this cultivation method. If it was someone else, they might not be able to find out anything from a copy that could not be cultivated. However, he was different. Chapter 2883. How is this possible? She stared at the scene in front of her in shock. Mo Zhuling still had a proud smile on his face. But now, because of the sudden change in her expression and the twisted shock on her face, she looked like a ghost. Mo Zhuling could not believe what was happening in front of her eyes. How was this possible? How did things turn out like this? How could Ji Feiyu not be a good-for-nothing? This was impossible. If he was not a good-for-nothing, if he could cultivate and was so powerful, why would he propose to her? Moreover, he was proposing marriage to her in such a grand manner today, intending to marry her. Mo Zhuling did not want to believe what was happening. Because it would make her look stupid. Because she had given up on a man who loved her very much and had been engaged to her for more than 10 years. He had never been dissatisfied with her or tried to break off the engagement. How could she admit that she had made such a mistake? It had to be known that Ji Feiyu was obviously better than her in terms of experience. Because he knew that her strength and status were not high, but he still wanted to marry her. But Lu Yu had fallen in love with her because she had the ability to control the black fog. Mo Zhuling's body trembled. She did not know if it was because of regret or frustration. Her regret and annoyance reached its peak after Ji Feiyu's next words. I am not a good-for-nothing. Mo Zhuling, I did not get engaged to you because I was a toad lusting after a swan. I was indeed unable to cultivate before, but that was not the reason why I got engaged to you. Ji Feiyu's expression was calm as he said what he had always wanted to say. I met with an opportunity on the way here. I was suddenly able to cultivate. I originally wanted to tell you after we got married. But it is obvious that you can't wait. As he spoke, he looked in the direction of the Lu family and said in a low voice, I am not a good-for-nothing. If your young master wants to be with her, I will fulfill his wish. Why do you have to be so scheming? The personal servant you just sent out is the death warrior of your young master, right? The great art of soul ignition is indeed very powerful. After launching an attack, one's strength can suddenly explode to the 9th level of the Amethyst Elder, or even the human martial realm. Unfortunately, I've seen the solution to this in an ancient book. You're really disappointed that you couldn't kill me. As soon as Ji Feiyu's voice came out, the surrounding people were in an uproar. What? This personal servant is actually not at the initial stage of the honorable realm. Everyone was shocked. They looked at the dead manservant on the ground. It was hard to imagine that his strength was not at the initial stage of the venerate realm. Chapter 2884. That's right. When the people around him heard this, their faces were filled with shame and anger. We must have been blind. If the Lu family really did that, then it's no wonder that they stole young Master Ji's fiancé and humiliated him. That's right. The crowd was filled with righteous indignation. That great soul ignition technique sounds very sinister and vicious. These people from the Lu family are really shameless. The eldest young mistress, who can mix with them, is really too unladylike. She's probably jackals of the same lair as them. That's right. The crowd's voices were heard. Before Mo Zhuling could do anything, the middle-aged man from the Lu family was already furious. Family Ji's son, don't you dare slander us. You've won, so be it. The Lu family can admit defeat, but what right do you have to slander our people? His face was filled with anger, but his heart was filled with shock. The Lu family's method of training their men of sacrifice had been passed down through countless generations of Lu family experts and brilliant geniuses. They had comprehended it from an ancient secret manual. He did not expect Ji Feiyu to be so lucky to have seen the solution in an ancient secret manual. No wonder this man of sacrifice was defeated so quickly. The middle-aged man's face was filled with anger, and his heart was filled with resentment. If he had known this would happen, he would not have cared about his reputation and directly sent his elite guards to kill Ji Feiyu. He did not expect that his original plan to use this man of sacrifice to gain a good reputation for the young master would be exploited by Ji Feiyu. And this Ji Feiyu was not a good-for-nothing. He had deliberately concealed his strength. The strength that Ji Feiyu had just displayed was that of an honorable realm cultivator. Compared to the average young genius, he was already very strong. After all, the young master's strength was only slightly stronger than Ji Feiyu's. Damn it! The middle-aged man scolded angrily while secretly rejoicing that his young master was not here. Otherwise, he would definitely lose face this time. Of course, they would definitely lose face this time, but the young master was not present, so at least it was better. As he thought of this, he glared fiercely at Mo Zhuling. It was all this woman's fault. At this moment, Ji Feiyu's eyes turned cold when he heard his words. He pointed at one of the guards beside him and said in a deep voice, "Why don't you send someone from the Liu family to try? Let's see if I'm slandering you, or if your Liu family is vicious and shameless." When he spoke, the middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. This guard had also cultivated the soul ignition technique and was one of Liu Yu's men of sacrifice. Moreover, it was of a higher level. At this moment, he was mixed in with the group of guards just to cover his tracks. She didn't expect Ji Feiyu to be able to tell at a glance. It seemed like the other party was really familiar with this kind of cultivation method and wasn't just spouting nonsense. While the middle-aged man's expression changed slightly, Ji Feiyu's expression was indescribably calm. He looked at the people from the Liu family and then made a "please" gesture. "People from the Liu family, please." As soon as the words left his mouth, the middle-aged man could no longer maintain his composure. Humph. The Liu family disdains to bully the weak. Chapter 2885. As he spoke, he left in a hurry. That back view was indescribably miserable. Before this, the ones who ran away were obviously Qin Xiong and the rest. However, in the blink of an eye, the situation had developed so quickly. No one knew that Ji Feiyu's palms were sweating at this moment. The strength that he borrowed from Luo Qingtong was long gone. If that middle-aged man from the Liu family had agreed to the competition, then the person who would have died would have been him. However, it was obvious that he had made the right bet. That middle-aged man would not have sent someone to compete with him when he had obviously seen through the great soul ignition technique and knew the solution. Because this would only make them lose even more miserably and lose even more face. They did not know that Ji Feiyu's strength was borrowed from Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, their intestines would have turned green with regret. Because they had missed the only chance to turn the tables. Seeing the people from the Liu family leave in a hurry, how could the surrounding people not know that the Liu family had indeed cheated? Otherwise, that middle-aged man would not have lost the courage to send a guard to compete with Ji Feiyu. After all, that guard had the strength of a level 9 amethyst elder. Compared to the strength that Ji Feiyu had shown in this club, he was much stronger. If they did not dare to compete, then didn't it mean that they had indeed cultivated the great soul ignition technique, which could increase their strength in an instant, but at the same time, there was an extremely terrifying hidden danger. And this hidden danger was controlled by Ji Feiyu, so they did not dare to compete with Ji Feiyu. Bah! They are really shameless. Yes. What great family of the 7-star field. Damn, they snatched someone's fiancé and still did it so openly to kill him. They are really disgusting to the extreme. Eldest Miss did not want the young master of the family Ji and wanted such a person. I think she is not a good person either. That's right. They say that a talented man matches a beautiful woman, and a wolf matches a tiger and a leopard. I originally thought that Eldest Miss and young Master Liu Yu were the one in front, but it turned out to be the one in the back. Both of them are equally shameless. That's right. The crowd discussed animatedly, while the Star Alliance Master and the people under him had awkward expressions on their faces. Especially when the Liu family came to propose marriage to Mo Zhuling and congratulated the leader of the Star Alliance joyfully. It was hard to explain on the surface. Who would have thought that the young master of the family Ji was not a good-for-nothing? What was even more commendable was that he wasn't a good-for-nothing and was even willing to marry Mo Zhuling. She had even solemnly proposed to Mo Juling in such a public setting, saying that they were bound together for good or ill. Such an affectionate and responsible man was truly rare in the world. Not to mention, his strength and knowledge were not inferior to the young master of the Lu clan. If they were to really compare, it was hard to say who would have greater achievements in the future. As for the young master of the Lu clan, he was only relying on his family background to be slightly better. Just based on how much he cared about Mo Juling, it was obvious that he was not even 1% of Ji Feiyu's. Not to mention other things, he actually didn't even show up for the proposal this time. He only sent his subordinates. Although this show of extravagance was big enough to give Mo Juling face. Compared to Ji Feiyu, it was completely incomparable. As the crowd thought this, they immediately stole glances at the leader of the Star Alliance. Chapter 2886. The leader of the Star Alliance could not stay here any longer. He had held this marriage proposal banquet to let everyone know that he was the son-in-law of the young master of the 7-star field. But now, what son-in-law? The Lu family had left in anger, and he did not know if this marriage was still valid. Not only that, he had become the laughingstock of the entire star field. In less than a month, he and Mo Juling's reputation of being blind, treacherous, and vain would spread throughout the entire star field. But this matter was caused by him and Mo Juling, so they could not blame anyone. Thus, when he thought of this, how could he still have the face to stay here? When he saw Mo Juling, he wanted to beat her to death. If she had not insisted on breaking off the engagement in such a high-profile manner, nothing would have happened. He had personally gone to the family G's place to break off the engagement. He believed that the family G's people would not say anything. After all, he was the one who had forced the engagement. But now, it was all ruined by this stupid woman. The leader of the Star Alliance was furious, and he left with a flick of his sleeves. Mo Juling was still immersed in Ji Feiyu's, not trash, but a genius, thoughts, and could not extricate herself. She could not believe that she had been so stupid. Ji Feiyu's words were very obvious. He was indeed trash before and could not cultivate. But when he came to propose marriage, he had already obtained an opportunity and cured his problem of not being able to cultivate. In other words, when he came to propose marriage to her, he was already able to cultivate. But he still proposed to her, not because of her low status, but because she was a burden that the family had forced on him. Not only that, his strength had just entered the supreme realm. What kind of concept was this? This meant that his talent and potential were extremely frightening. After being trash for so long, once he recovered his cultivation, he immediately surpassed most of the young talents. She had originally thought that she had thrown away an insignificant piece of trash. Only now did she realize that the person she had thrown away and humiliated was not an insignificant piece of trash. It was a treasure that was hard to find even in 1,000 years. In terms of talent and potential, Liu was definitely no match for Ji Feiyu, not to mention the effort he put in for her. At this moment, Mo Juling was filled with regret. She was extremely vain and ambitious. Otherwise, she would not have been dissatisfied with her marriage to the family Ji. But now, it was revealed that what she had always despised was what she deserved the most. The regret and distortion in her heart were simply indescribable. At this moment, Ji Feiyu's cold voice rang out. The eldest daughter of the Mo family. Please fulfill your promise. As soon as he said this, Mo Juling was suddenly jolted awake. She looked at Ji Feiyu, not knowing what he was talking about. What promise did she make? While she was thinking, Ji Feiyu and the others, who had surrounded their young master, suddenly stopped crying. They gritted their teeth and looked at her. That's right, the eldest daughter of the Mo family, the eldest daughter of the Star Alliance. Please fulfill your promise to our young master. If our young master proves that he is not trash, you must apologize for your slander and humiliation. Our young master traveled thousands of miles to come here. He does not mind your low status and is willing to marry you for 100 years. Chapter 2887. Now that the truth is out, please uphold justice for our young master. Let everyone know that breaking off the engagement wasn't our family G's fault, but your MO family's greed for glory and treachery. Please explain this to everyone. That's right, explain it to everyone. Sui Yu and the others were worried. Although they didn't know how their young master suddenly became so powerful, when they thought of the little white cat that had jumped out of Ji Feiyu's arms, they knew what was going on. In their hearts, they were happy that their young master was fine and had washed away the humiliation and slander. They had regained their reputation in front of everyone. At the same time, they hated Mo Zhuling, who had almost killed their young master, to the bone. They wanted nothing more than to destroy her reputation. They stood up now because they wanted Mo Zhuling to apologize to everyone according to the agreement before the competition. After they spoke, Mo Zhuling remembered that before Ji Feiyu and the Lu family proposed the competition, they had said, if he proved that he wasn't a good-for-nothing, Mo Zhuling and the Lu family had to apologize to him in front of everyone. They had to admit to everyone that they were the ones who had secretly colluded with him and had let Ji Feiyu down. When he thought of this, Mo Zhuling felt dizzy and almost fainted. Ji Feiyu had won this competition. Her reputation was so bad that it was almost unbearable. If she apologized in front of everyone and said that she was a loose woman who didn't abide by the virtues of a married woman, how would she be despised by everyone? It had to be known that no matter how much people disdained and despised them in their hearts, for the sake of the Lu family, no one dared to openly express their dislike and disdain for them. But once she admitted it, things would be different. That would go against the government and the rules. At that time, even if the streets were filled with people who were cursing and insulting her, she couldn't do anything to him. Because she had admitted it herself, not someone who was cursing and insulting her. Mo Zhuling almost fainted. She didn't have time to regret missing out on such a good man like Ji Feiyu. She was on the verge of collapsing. She didn't know what to do when she saw that Sui Yu and the others weren't going to let the matter rest. She gritted her teeth and looked in Ji Feiyu's direction, wanting to beg him to let her go. After all, he had proposed to her even after he had cultivated for her sake. He should have some feelings for her, right? However, when she looked over, she only saw Ji Feiyu looking down at the little white cat at his feet with a gentle expression. When she saw the little white cat, Mo Zhuling's eyes widened. She looked at the little white cat in shock. Blood and madness had already gathered in her eyes. Damn it, this little white cat was clearly the one she met in the mirror array. Could it be that it was behind all of this? Ji Feiyu wasn't a good-for-nothing who had turned into a genius. It was just that he had used some unknown method to win the competition against the Lu family. At this thought, Mo Zhuling was about to go crazy. Damn it! You bastard! She suddenly pounced towards Luo Qintong, but people mistakenly thought that she was going to attack Ji Feiyu in a fit of anger. Therefore, Sui Yu and the others immediately rushed forward and slapped her away. Chapter 2888. Impudent. Sui Yu's voice was harsh. Mo Zhuling, you're the one who didn't abide by the virtues of a woman. You seduced the young master of the Lu family even though you're engaged. Now that you've been exposed, you're insulting my family's young master in anger. Who are you calling a beast? You Star Alliance people dare to bully our family G. As her words came out, the remaining Star Alliance people were so scared that their faces turned white. Mo Zhuling had the protection of the Lu family. The family G's people might not dare to do anything to her. But this wasn't necessarily the case for them. As for Elder Fong and the others, they had Yi Qianqian's token and were on good terms with the people of True Spill Continent. Because Su Xiaoxiao and the others had come to ask them to help save Ji Feiyu, they thought that Su Xiaoxiao and Ji Feiyu were on very good terms. Thus, they weren't worried when they saw this scene. But the other people under the Star Alliance's Alliance Master were different. Now that the Star Alliance's Alliance Master had flung his sleeves and left, no one cared about them. Mo Zhuling had offended the family Ji's people. They were afraid that they would be punished by the family Ji's people to make an example out of them or to vent their anger. Thus, they ignored Mo Zhuling's struggles and directly said, "Forgive us, young Mississippi." Then, they pressed her to the ground and forced her to apologize to Ji Feiyu. "Young miss, don't blame us for not treating you well. In the end, you were the one who caused this disaster. You and the Alliance Master have the Liu family's people to protect you. The family Ji's people might not do anything to you, but will be miserable. That's right. For the sake of our entire Star Alliance, young miss, please endure this humiliation and bow your head to the family Ji's people." Everyone's faces were dark. They weren't afraid of offending Mo Zhuling. But who asked Mo Zhuling to call Ji Feiyu a beast? The Liu clan wasn't here either. Were they supposed to pay for Mo Zhuling's willfulness with their lives? On what basis? Moreover, if it wasn't for Mo Zhuling, they would have been in a good position. However, it was ruined by Mo Zhuling's vanity. Everyone was filled with anger and hatred. They wanted to use the family Ji's outburst as an excuse to teach Mo Zhuling a lesson. At that time, they would not be afraid that Mo Zhuling would punish them. If he punished them, Mo Zhuling and his daughter would have no one to rely on in the Star Alliance. Therefore, the group of people did not show the slightest bit of mercy. Mo Zhuling was forced to kneel heavily on the arena. He knelt down one by one in front of Ji Feiyu and the others. When she saw the disgusted and disdainful expressions of the people around her, she fainted in an instant. Before she fainted, she spat out a mouthful of blood. All of her dignity and pride had been crushed and trampled under everyone's feet at this moment. This was something she hadn't expected when she had planned to humiliate Ji Feiyu at the marriage proposal banquet. After she fainted, Ji Feiyu's eyes were cold. He didn't say anything and just turned to leave. After he left, this matter instantly spread throughout the entire Star City and even spread to the center of the entire Star Field. Everyone said that Mo Zhuling deserved it. She was so shameless and vain. She even tried every possible way to kill Ji Feiyu. She was the epitome of a vicious woman. On the other hand, Liu Yu was said to have no foresight and was a vicious person. Not only did he steal someone else's fiancée, but he also conspired with Mo Zhuling to deal with Ji Feiyu. They were a perfect match for each other. At this time, 2 sentences were also mysteriously spread among the people of the Fengxing Star region. Everyone who heard them thought that it was wonderful. Chapter 2889. A scumbag and a dog will last forever. A snake and a scorpion with a beggar will always be true love. Luo Qingtong quietly wrote these 2 sentences in a few secluded corners of the main square with her claws instead of her hands. Then, she immediately returned to the mansion with Ji Feiyu and the others. In the mansion, after Qin Xiong and the others escaped, they hurriedly left. When Sueyu and the others saw the messy luggage, they were instantly furious. Damn it, these bastards, how dare they leave the young master behind and run for their lives. Not only that, but they also took all our things away. The group of maidservants gritted their teeth. What did Qin Xiong and the others' actions mean? It meant that they didn't think that they and the young master could come back safely. They only thought that they would die at the banquet. Under such circumstances, they still dared to leave the young master behind and run away. They were clearly trying to kill the young master. Sueyu and the others gritted their teeth. Ji Feiyu's expression was indifferent, but he didn't say anything. When he was abandoned by Qin Xiong and the others, he knew that this would be the result. If it weren't for the family rules, Qin Xiong and the others wouldn't have listened to his orders. Even so, they still obeyed him on the surface but disobeyed him on the inside. Ever since he threatened them with him, they were even more unconvinced and indignant. It was normal for them to leave him behind. Well, there's no need to be angry over people who don't deserve it. What's more, the fact that we came back alive is already the biggest punishment for them. Ji Feiyu's words rang out. In an instant, Sueyu and the others were encouraged again. Because they thought that the young master was fine and could even cultivate. When they returned to the family Ji in the future, Qin Xiong and the others would regret it. At that time, they would definitely pay the price. When they thought of this, they immediately felt relieved. Then, they all left to tidy up the mansion and the courtyard. After all, even if they wanted to leave here, it wouldn't be at this time. The people of the Liu family and Mo Zhuling had just suffered such a setback. Who knew if they would attack the young master when they left? At that time, they really wouldn't be able to do anything even if they cried for help. On the contrary, if they stayed in the Star Alliance, under everyone's eyes, it would not be so easy for the Liu family and Mo Zhuling to touch them. With this thought in mind, everyone hurriedly went to work. After they left, Ji Feiyu looked at Luo Qingtong and called out to her carefully. Little 7. Ji Feiyu's voice was filled with uncertainty. He was still confused and in disbelief. The little white cat that had been following him all this time turned out to be Luo Shaoqi, who had stayed in their convoy for a while. This matter was so miraculous that it was hard to believe. When Luo Qingtong heard his voice, she immediately raised her head. Meow. She tilted her head and looked at Ji Feiyu, thinking that he had something to ask her. She had used up all of her mental strength and didn't even have the mental strength to send him a voice transmission. Therefore, she could only use her actions to express her thoughts. She squatted down and wagged her tail, indicating that he could ask her anything. When Ji Feiyu saw her like this, he was shocked and hurriedly asked, Little 7, what's wrong? Can't you speak? Chapter 2890. Ji Feiyu was worried. Luo Qingtong could talk to him in his mind before. Why didn't she say anything now? And under normal circumstances, it was impossible for a human to turn into a cat. Ji Feiyu guessed that Luo Qingtong might have encountered something bad, so she became like this. And now, because she helped him, she couldn't speak anymore. Just when he was anxious, Luo Qingtong waved her paws and shook her head to indicate that she was fine. Right now, she had only exhausted her mental strength. She would be fine once she recovered. She couldn't speak in Tuanzi's body. Seeing her shake her head, Ji Feiyu was finally relieved after confirming that she was fine. He breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Luo Qingtong, and said gently, Thank you, little 7. If you hadn't helped me, I don't know what kind of humiliation and slander I would have endured. And Sueyu and the others probably wouldn't have been able to come back safely. Ji Feiyu's face was full of mockery as he spoke. As her fiancé, he had planned for Mo Zhuling to the extreme, but he didn't expect that she would repay him in this way in the end. Ji Feiyu didn't dare to imagine what kind of pain and torture he and Sueyu would have suffered if he hadn't met Luo Qingtong by chance and brought back Luo Qingtong, who had turned into a little white cat. How could a person's heart be so cruel and vicious? Ji Feiyu couldn't figure it out. He didn't want to think about it anymore. From now on, he and Mo Zhuling had nothing to do with each other anymore. As for how the family Ji would deal with this broken engagement, it had nothing to do with him. Anyway, he wasn't the one who broke off the engagement. When Ji Feiyu said that, Luo Qingtong raised her paws and waved casually. She looked as if she was saying, It's nothing. You don't have to thank me. Ji Feiyu looked at her and immediately laughed. His mood was much better because of this. Not only this. I also want to thank you for curing my problem of not being able to cultivate. When Ji Feiyu said this, he suddenly recalled that Luo Qingtong had stripped him of his outer robe when she treated him. He didn't know that the little white cat was Luo Qingtong, so he didn't feel anything. Now that he knew that it was her, his face flushed red. But very quickly, he covered it up. Luo Qingtong remembered the blood curse because of his words, and she. After a while, she came in with a bowl of water and a bowl of sand. At first, Ji Fei was stunned when he saw her carrying a bowl of water in her mouth. Then, he quickly got up to receive it. When the second bowl of sand came in, he was even more stunned. After Luo Qingtong brought the two things in, she immediately knocked the sand to the ground. Then, she wet the sand with her paws and started to write on the sand. Ji Feiyu saw this and realized what she was going to do. He looked around vigilantly. Then, he closed all the doors and stared at the words Luo Qingtong wrote with her paws. Luo Qingtong had many ways to tell him something, but she chose this way. This meant that what she was going to say was very important and couldn't let ordinary people know about it. Therefore, he did what he did. Luo Qingtong looked at his actions and was very impressed. Chapter 2891. To be honest, there was nothing wrong with Ji Feiyu other than his overly gentle and kind personality. However, if he wasn't such a good person, she wouldn't have helped him. Luo Qingtong wasn't such a benevolent person. It wasn't as if she had a screw loose and wanted to intervene whenever she saw injustice in the world. Did she want to be the world's policeman? Ji Feiyu stared at the words under Luo Qingtong's claws. The more he stared, the more solemn his expression became. You're saying that someone put a soul blood curse on my body. My body can't cultivate, nor is it innately weak. Someone sucked away the power of my soul. That's why I'm like this. After Luo Qingtong finished writing, Ji Feiyu was silent for a long time before he asked. His voice was unusually bitter. It was as if saying these words was very difficult for him. Indeed, the soul blood curse was an evil technique that could only be used by the bloodline of a family. In other words, the person who put the curse on him was a member of the family Ji and was not far from his family by blood. Otherwise, it wouldn't have succeeded at all. Ji Feiyu had once read a few descriptions of the blood curse in the ancient records. However, because it wasn't detailed enough and Ji Feiyu didn't think about his own situation at all, he didn't pay much attention to it. Now that he learned about it from Luo Qingtong, it was simply heart-wrenching. After all this fuss, the person who wanted him dead was actually a member of the family Ji. Moreover, it was someone who was extremely close to his bloodline. That was the direct descendant and the branch family in the 5 servers. As Ji Feiyu thought about it, he suddenly said bitterly, I didn't expect it. When Luo Qingtong saw the haze in his eyes, she immediately raised her claws and patted his hand, indicating that he shouldn't be sad anymore. In this day and age, who hadn't met a few ungrateful, heartless, and unscrupulous scum? So what if they were blood relatives? In the past, she had even met brothers, parents, and children who killed each other for benefits. In short, there were all kinds of trash in this world. If he couldn't pass because of this trash, then he would be fulfilling the wishes of others in vain. Luo Qingtong's principle was to let the other party see that she was doing well. If the other party was unhappy, then she would be happy. When Luo Qingtong patted the back of Ji Feiyu's hand, the latter was stunned by her action. Then, he laughed. Is little Seven worried about me? Actually, I'm not that sad. He whispered. Other than his parents who loved him dearly, there were many people in his family Ji who wanted him dead. The reason why he was lost in thought was because he suddenly thought of something. Perhaps it had something to do with his blood curse. Just as he was about to speak, the voices of Sueyu and the others suddenly came from outside. Young master, people from the 7 ultimates of true yen have come to visit. Sui Yu's voice was slightly strange. She knew about the 7 absolutes of true yen. Before, they had inquired about the mirror array between Yingying, Zhuozhuo, and Mo Zhuling. It was related to these people. But why would these people come looking for their young master? However, Sui Yu didn't think too much about it. These people from the true Spill continent had a grudge against Mo Zhuling. Then the enemy of an enemy was a friend. What's more, although the other party was from a low-level continent, they were highly valued by the higher-ups of the Star Alliance. They could also make Mo Zhuling and the others feel helpless, and they had to resort to underhanded means to attack them. They must have their own strengths. Therefore, Sui Yu and the others didn't neglect Su Xiaoxiao and the others just because they were from a low-level continent. Chapter 2892. When Ji Feiyu heard their words, he was instantly surprised. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong was speechless. These guys, could it be that they were here for her? Luo Qingtong thought about how she had stood up for Ji Feiyu back then, and then thought about how she had left with Ji Feiyu and the others. Could Su Xiaoxiao and the others have treated her as Ji Feiyu's pet? Thinking about it, it seemed like it was really possible. Otherwise, why would they suddenly look for Ji Feiyu and the others? Luo Qingtong was speechless as she thought about it. But soon, she felt that this was not a bad idea. Let Su Xiaoxiao and the others think that Ji Feiyu was their savior. This way, she could hide her identity as a little white cat. Secondly, she would return to the family Ji with Ji Feiyu to solve his blood curse. There would be no need to think of another reason or relationship. Wouldn't this be a ready-made reason and relationship? Of course, the most important thing was that she didn't need to expose her identity. Luo Qingtong thought about it and immediately meowed. She quickly raised her claws to smooth out the sand in front of her that was filled with words. Then, she wrote a few lines of words on it. They should be here for me. If they want to thank you later, just accept it and treat yourself as my master. Luo Qingtong wrote this. Then, she pulled Ji Feiyu's sleeve and showed him these words. Ji Feiyu had already looked over seriously when she moved her claws. Then, a thoughtful look appeared on his face. Okay, don't worry. I won't let it slip. Ji Feiyu knew that Luo Qingtong probably didn't want others to know that she had turned into a little white cat. Moreover, there was obviously a grudge between her and Mo Zhuling. Especially after she turned into a little white cat, she seemed to have ruined something for Mo Zhuling. Otherwise, the latter wouldn't have been so crazy when he saw her. Perhaps it was related to the visit of the people from the true Spill continent. If that was the case, he was willing to take the blame for Luo Qingtong and let Mo Zhuling take revenge on him. Anyway, this one didn't matter. Ji Feiyu thought about it and immediately nodded and agreed cautiously. Luo Qingtong looked at his cautious attitude and the corners of her lips twitched. She wanted to tell him that it wasn't that serious. She didn't want to expose her identity, and she didn't want to find another reason. After all, she still had to go back to the family Ji with him. If she didn't find a good reason, then her identity as a little white cat would be exposed. How embarrassing would that be? But then, would be too troublesome. This matter couldn't be explained too. In addition, she couldn't speak at this moment, so she gave up on explaining and let Ji Feiyu fill in the misunderstanding. Su Xiaoxiao and the others didn't stay for long. After confirming that the little white cat was Ji Feiyu's pet, they thanked Ji Feiyu cautiously. Then, they gave the token they got from Elder Fong to Ji Feiyu. Young Master Ji. This is the personal token of Elder Fong of the Star Alliance. Elder Fong is the #1 elder of the Star Alliance. His authority and prestige are not inferior to the Star Alliance's leader. Young Master Ji, if you need any help, you can activate the power in this token. Elder Fong will definitely do his best to help. Ling Tianhan said it very tactfully. Chapter 2893. After all, Mo Zhuling and the others had lost so much face at the marriage proposal banquet. No one knew if they would secretly make a move on Ji Feiyu. Ji Feiyu's most elite guards had already fled. Su Xiaoxiao and the others were worried that Sui Yu and the others wouldn't be a match for them and wouldn't be able to send out a message in time, causing Ji Feiyu to be harmed. Therefore, they specifically asked Elder Fong and the others for this token. In this way, with so many eyes in the Star Alliance watching, if the Liu family didn't want to be denounced by the family Ji, they wouldn't dare to openly make a move on Ji Feiyu. Ji Feiyu held the token and marveled at Su Xiaoxiao and the others' thoughtfulness. At this moment, the use of this token was indeed more useful than any gift of thanks. And this could be considered as Shaoqi helping him once again. After all, if it weren't for Luo Qingtong, these people from the Truce Spill continent wouldn't have come to thank him. He didn't expect that the relationship between the people from the Truce Spill continent and the Star Alliance's upper echelons was even deeper than what Sui Yu and the others had told him. They were even able to obtain such a personal token. And they even made Elder Fong of the Star Alliance promise to protect him with all his strength. Ji Feiyu was clear in his heart that the upper echelons of the Star Alliance like Elder Fong and the others would wisely protect themselves. Generally speaking, they wouldn't get involved in his mess. This time, he was indebted to Shaoqi once again. As Ji Feiyu thought this, he suddenly sighed and took the token, thanking Su Xiaoxiao and the others. After Su Xiaoxiao and the others gave out the token, they didn't stay for too long and quickly left. Because Ji Feiyu had encountered such an unforeseen event today, he was certainly not in a good mood. They didn't stay to disturb him. After Su Xiaoxiao left, Luo Qingtong also left a crooked note for Ji Feiyu and then left. After all, she had been by Ji Feiyu's side for a long time. At this moment, the blood curse on his body was already under control. With Sui Yu and the others by his side, plus the tokens that Su Xiaoxiao and the others had just given out, there wouldn't be any trouble for a short period of time. It was time for Luo Qingtong to do her own thing. Most importantly, she couldn't stay outside like a little white cat forever, right? Hing Ji was guarding her body in the inn. She did not know if he was angry or not. Fortunately, she had paid enough for the room. Otherwise, it would have been terrible. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, the scene of the inn's waiter coming to ask for the rent appeared in her mind. When he saw her corpse lying on the bed, the corners of his mouth twitched fiercely. She nimbly leaped through the alleys and soon appeared outside the inn she rented. Then, she directly rushed in. After a while, she appeared in front of her room. She nimbly opened the door and rushed in. "Master, you're finally back." Little Pig looked at her and whimpered. It was so pitiful. It had been guarding Luo Qingtong's body for so long that it was almost moldy. This woman said that she was going to help Su Xiaoxiao and the others, but she was nowhere to be seen. She ran to the family Ji's side. It was simply waiting for him to die. Fortunately, the waiter came to deliver food every day. Otherwise, how could he survive? Little Pig was howling. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. She ignored it and directly escaped from the little white cat's body and rushed back into her own body. Phew! A human body is still the most comfortable. After saying so, Luo Qingtong immediately lent her body to her and fell into a deep sleep. At this time, Xiao Tuanzi, who had not yet woken up, was put into the 9-layered exquisite pagoda. Then, she picked up Little Pig and said, "Let's go. Let's go to the Star Alliance Academy." As she said that, she immediately rushed outside. Chapter 2894. Bang! Mo Zhuling regained consciousness. She sat on the bed and smashed the things around her with all her might. Crash! She swung her hands wildly, smashing everything in front of her onto the ground. Brocade quilt, jade pillows, porcelain cups, and chairs. Even the fragrant curtains hanging on the bed were torn down by her. Ah! Ah! Bastard! Bastard! That damned bastard, I won't let you off. And Ji Feiyu and the others. Ah! Mo Zhuling's eyes were bloodshot. She had just received news from her confidant that the little white cat was indeed the bastard who had attacked her in the mirror array. Her confidant had found out that the little white cat had mingled with Su Xiaoxiao and the others before the banquet started. After all, Su Xiaoxiao and the others had been hiding their movements at that time. But if she investigated carefully, she could still find some traces. She thought about how the bastard had ruined her plans time and time again. Now, she had even lost her reputation and ended up in an extremely embarrassing state. Mo Zhuling's expression was crazed. Especially when she thought of the few times she kowtowed to Ji Feiyu, especially to that little white cat, her face twisted into a ghastly expression. Her veil was scattered on the ground. The scars on her face had not completely healed. At this moment, the marks that looked like they had been scratched by sharp claws were clearly visible on her face. Coupled with the expression on her face, she looked even more terrifying, like a demon who had returned from hell. At this moment, a maidservant came in with a bowl of medicine. When she saw this scene, she screamed in shock and the bowl in her hand fell to the ground. Bang! When Mo Zhuling heard the voice, she slapped Mo Zhuling. Get lost! Her voice was cold and she slapped the maidservant so hard that she crashed into the wall. With a cold expression, she picked up the veil that had fallen to the ground and put it back on. This injury was naturally caused by Luo Qingtong's claw and the mirror array. She still hadn't fully recovered. However, Mo Zhuling wasn't too worried when he thought about the power of the black fog. She believed that after the black fog appeared, it would be able to heal the wounds on her face. After all, he had saved her from her crippled state. She put on the veil on her face and walked up to the servant girl. She said coldly, "Lowly servant girl, who allowed you to enter my room? Do you have the right to set foot in this place?" As she spoke, she kicked the maidservant and sent her flying again. The latter coughed up blood, but he did not dare to resist. He lowered his head, and his eyes were filled with indescribable hatred and mockery. The eldest miss could only flaunt her might in front of them, right? A woman with a disfigured face and a shameless slut in everyone's eyes. Who would want her? In less than 2 days, the Liu family would come and break off the engagement. Let's see if she can still be arrogant then. She was full of disdain as she thought of this. At this moment, the Alliance Master of the Star Alliance heard the commotion and rushed over. When he saw that the surroundings were in a mess and that the servant girl had been sent flying while vomiting blood, he immediately became furious and shouted sternly, "How dare you!" Chapter 2895. The Star Alliance's leader's face was ashen. He only found out after returning to the Star Alliance that Mo Zhuling had called Ji Feiyu a bastard at the end of the banquet. This unfilial girl, would she only be satisfied if she angered herself to death? At that time, they were clearly at a disadvantage. Everyone could see that they were the ones in the wrong and had let Ji Feiyu down. The Liu family had left, and he had also left. But she was unconvinced and indignant about Ji Feiyu's victory, so she directly called him a bastard. How much did she want to kill him? When the Star Alliance's leader heard this, he almost fainted from anger. A group of people under him came to complain to him, saying that they were almost killed by Mo Zhuling. At that time, she had the Liu family's support. She wasn't afraid, but those Star Alliance people were scared to death. This be *TCH. The Star Alliance's leader recalled how he had been criticized and questioned by a group of Star Alliance people. It took him a lot of effort to control his desire to slap Mo Zhuling to death. The Liu family hadn't come to cancel the engagement yet, so there might still be some hope. He couldn't be impulsive and kill this B***TCH. But the Star Alliance's leader couldn't control the anger in his heart. He slapped Mo Zhuling and knocked her to the ground. Then he said coldly, "Behave yourself and stop causing trouble here. Our Mo family has already become the joke of the entire Star Alliance. How far do you want to drag me down? Let me tell you, you better pray that the Liu family doesn't come to cancel the engagement. Otherwise, I'll immediately break all the bones in your body and send you to the family G to be dealt with." The Star Alliance's leader's voice was cold. He really couldn't stand Mo Zhuling anymore. He had already lost all his prestige because of her. He didn't doubt that once the Liu family cancelled the engagement, the public would be furious. At that time, even if he didn't punish Mo Zhuling, was he going to make all of his subordinates turn against him and side with Elder Fong and the others? Moreover, without the Liu family's support, what could they use to deal with the family G's attack? The Star Alliance's leader couldn't help but send Mo Zhuling flying with another slap. Mo Zhuling had just gotten up from the ground and was sent flying with another slap. He immediately exploded. Mo Zhuling, why don't you try and slap me again? Do you believe that I won't kill you? Mo Zhuling's face was crazed and cold. Since she was already in her current situation, she could not be bothered to put on an act with the Alliance Master of the Star Alliance and play the role of an obedient daughter. Break all the bones in her body and send her to the G family to be dealt with. He probably didn't have the chance or ability to do so. Mo Zhuling got up from the ground and looked down at the Star Alliance's leader. Don't think that you can attack me just because I don't have anyone to rely on. Who do you think you are? I only want your daughter, the eldest daughter of the Star Alliance. Do you think that I can make the young master of the 7-star field propose marriage? Mo Zhuling's face was malicious. Now that the Star Alliance's leader's identity was useless to her, the Star Alliance's people were extremely dissatisfied with her. Her reputation as the eldest daughter of the Star Alliance's leader had already been ruined to the extreme. What use did she have? If the Star Alliance's leader dared to attack her again, then don't blame her for being impolite. Chapter 2896. You. He looked at Mo Zhuling, speechless. Could it be that there was something behind Mo Zhuling and Liu Yu's acquaintance that he didn't know of? As the Star Alliance's leader thought of this, the aura around his body instantly dissipated. Mo Zhuling also fiercely wiped the blood from his lips and walked out of the luxurious mansion in the Star Alliance's headquarters. She was going to find Liu Yu. What happened at the proposal banquet wasn't irreparable. Mo Zhuling didn't care what other people thought of him. As long as Liu Yu's side was settled, no one in the Star Alliance would dare to touch him. At that time, Ji Feiyu, that strange cat, and Su Xiaoxiao and the others, she would make them all pay the price. At this time, in the Star Alliance Academy, Luo Qingtong also saw Su Xiaoxiao and the others after being notified by the Academy's guards. Boss! A group of people rushed over. When they saw the incomparably beautiful young lady in red clothes standing outside the Star Alliance Academy from afar, hot tears immediately burst out from their eyes. Boss! Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu almost jumped in front of Luo Qingtong. They jumped on her body and hugged her tightly, like two dried-up fish hugging their water source. The tears that flowed out of their eyes were both happy and excited. Boss, you're finally back. We were worried to death. The two of them hugged Luo Qingtong tightly and cried wantonly. They almost cried out all the tears that they had suppressed for so long. In the past, in the True Spill continent, they watched as Luo Qingtong disappeared in front of their eyes without any warning. No one knew if he was dead or alive. There was no news from him. If it wasn't for their obsession, that would be, boss will be fine. She said that she still needs to wait for us to catch up with her. Don't fall behind. We haven't caught up with her yet. She still has a bright future ahead of her. How could anything happen to her? She will be fine. It was precisely because of this belief that they continued to cultivate with all their might. They were not afraid of death, nor were they afraid of danger. They were desperately trying to improve their own strength. They did not want a day like this to come where they were still powerless and did not even have the qualifications to look for her. But this time, their belief, their pillar, their soul, came back. Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu hugged Luo Qingtong and cried. Sima Ju, Ling Tianhan, and the rest followed behind. When they saw this scene, tears welled up in their eyes. Everyone quietly looked up at the sky and the ground, but they didn't dare to look at Luo Qingtong, afraid that she would see the tears in their eyes. Men didn't cry easily. They didn't want to cry in front of Luo Qingtong, but they couldn't help the surging emotions in their hearts. The person who came back was the light in their hearts. She was their life. As soon as Boss came back, the Wind and the Star Alliance Academy is too strong. My eyes are as big as copper bells, but they can't block the wind. It's like I've seen a ghost. Yuan Hu's throat was choked with sobs as he forcefully wiped away the tears in his eyes. While cursing, he said, "What kind of lousy academy is this?" As for Sima Ju and Ling Tianhan, they both looked away, one of them saying, "Ahem." Chapter 2897. That's right, it's good to have blown this person back. If this is a dream, let them never wake up again. Ling Tianqin and Chu Wenhao nodded solemnly as well. They had wanted to say something like Ling Tianhan and Sima Ju. But as soon as they opened their mouths, besides sobbing, they couldn't say anything else. In front of the news of Luo Qingtong's return, no words seemed to be able to express the intense emotions in their hearts that they couldn't even control. Only the sobbing and hot tears could be heard, letting people know how excited they were in their hearts. Meanwhile, the academy guard who passed the message on behalf of Luo Qingtong was already dumbfounded at the side. Oh my god! This girl who doesn't seem to have much strength is actually the boss of the 7 unique True Yen. The existence that they risked their lives to protect. Oh my god, I thought she was a very powerful genius powerhouse. I thought so too. The group of academy guards who were in charge of guarding were stunned. They never thought that such an ordinary girl was the boss of the 7 unique True Yen. This was an existence that everyone within the True Spill continent would risk their lives to protect. Oh my god, isn't this too fantastical? On what basis? Everyone thought so and suddenly clicked their tongues. Luo Qingtong also didn't think that Su Xiaoxiao and the others' reaction would be so intense. Looking at their reddened eyes, Luo Qingtong's heart rippled. Looking at them, she whispered, "Sorry, I came back late. I've made you wait." No, it's not late at all. As Luo Qingtong's words came out, Su Xiaoxiao and the others immediately refuted loudly. Especially Ling Yu and Su Xiaoxiao. Their throats were still obviously sobbing, but they still spoke loudly. It's not late at all. Boss, do you know? We thought that when we had the strength to leave here and go to other star fields, we would be able to see you again and find you again. It's not late at all, you know. Ling Yu and Su Xiaoxiao's voices were choked with sobs. They kept sobbing and their bodies were trembling faintly. Yes, I know. She knew everything. She knew how hard they worked, how much they risked their lives, and how much they missed her. Luo Qingtong hugged Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu, then looked at Ling Tianhan and the others and said, "Let's go back. We'll talk at your place." As she spoke, her gaze swept across the entrance of Star Alliance Academy and the students who were continuously gathering there. These people were currently looking at Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao's group with stunned expressions. It was unknown if they were shocked by Su Xiaoxiao's group's excitement, or if they were shocked that Luo Qingtong's strength was only at the sacred expert level. But Luo Qingtong didn't care. She deliberately did not increase her strength. Her strength could have been restored to the level of Amethyst Elder level 9 long ago. This was because when she was by Ji Feiyu's side, she had more or less consolidated her understanding and strength. The current her could raise her strength to the level of Amethyst Elder level 9 at any time and didn't have to worry about any instability in her realm. But Luo Qingtong didn't do that. If she didn't leave an obvious weakness and flaw, how could she lure the snake out of its hole? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. The black fog behind Mo Zhuling wasn't simple. Chapter 2898. At this moment, in a private residence in Star City. "Young Miss of the Star Alliance, please go back." A Lu family cultivator blocked Mo Zhuling's way with a look of disdain. "Our young master doesn't want to see you." Mo Zhuling's body shook at his words. Then, she bit her lip and looked at the Lu family cultivator with a determined gaze. "I don't believe you unless you ask him to tell me personally." Mo Zhuling clenched her fists tightly under her sleeves. She was well aware of the difficulties she would face this time. No matter what, she had caused the Lu family to lose face and caused Lu Yu to be criticized. These were all real things. If the Lu family didn't mind at all and welcomed her into their residence with a smile, she would have suspected that they had ulterior motives and wanted to do something to her. Now that their attitude was bad, she was relieved. Since Lu Yu didn't chase her away personally, it meant that he still had feelings for her, and they were very deep. Since that was the case, there was still room for negotiation. Therefore, Mo Zhuling was determined not to leave. The Lu family cultivators looked at her coldly. They were obviously furious, but they didn't chase her out. This confirmed her suspicions. Lu Yu still had feelings for her. Mo Zhuling felt a sense of satisfaction when she thought of this, but she didn't show it on her face. After all, it wasn't enough that Lu Yu still had feelings for her. She had to convince the Lu family as well. Therefore, when she thought of this, she immediately said to the Lu family cultivator, "I know that the Lu family hates me and thinks that I've ruined the reputation of your young master and the Lu family. But have you thought about it? I won't joke about my reputation and the reputation of the Star Alliance. Ji Feiyu is indeed a good-for-nothing. Everyone in the Dongting region knows this. It can't be fake. Moreover, don't you think that what happened at the marriage proposal banquet was too strange? After the Lu family proposed to me, Ji Feiyu happened to have the strength, and he also happened to know the cultivation method of the Lu family's men of sacrifice. All of this can no longer be explained by coincidence. I came here today to tell you that it doesn't matter if you blame me. But don't be blinded by others. What happened at the wedding banquet was obviously planned by someone to ruin me and the Lu family. Your Lu family has been implicated by me. I have nothing to say. But I don't want your young master to blame me for something bad. Therefore, I would like to ask you to be in charge of informing them. I'll meet him and explain the situation to him. After that, I'll leave immediately." Mo Zhuling didn't put on a pitiful look. She was very scheming. What happened at the marriage proposal banquet had been done. The reputation of the Lu family and Lu Yu had suffered a great loss. If she tried to shirk the responsibility and say that it wasn't her fault, she would easily be disliked by the Lu family. She might as well do the opposite. She would be magnanimous and take responsibility for what she had done. It would be easier to gain their pity, especially Lu Yu's pity. As expected, when she said that, the Liu family cultivator frowned and looked at her with a strange expression. However, the contempt and disdain from before were gone. Okay, wait here. I'll help you talk to our young master again. If he still refuses to see you, then don't blame us. Chapter 2899. The expert from the Liu family had an icy expression on his face. In fact, if not for the fact that Mo Zhuling was their young master's fiancé, he would not even be able to step through the door. Thus, after hearing his words, Mo Zhuling was instantly overjoyed. However, she did not show any signs of wild joy. Instead, she looked at the expert from the Liu family with a hopeful yet sorrowful expression and said, "All right, thank you." After she finished speaking, the expert from the Liu family had already disappeared from her sight. In the backyard of the Liu family's temporary residence, Liu Yu's expression was calm as he looked at the expert from the Liu family who had come to report to him. He immediately sneered and said, "This Mo Zhuling is just as I expected. He has a myriad of tricks up his sleeves." He sneered at the news that Mo Zhuling had sent over. Mo Zhuling's tricks might be able to fool others, but they were too childish to fool him. No matter what the motive of the proposal banquet was, or who the culprit was, the person who had caused him and the Liu family to lose face was Mo Zhuling. If she had not allowed him to propose at that time, how could he have been implicated in this matter? However, Mo Zhuling kept implying that someone was plotting against her. It was obvious that not only did he want to get rid of the blame that had caused him to lose face, he also wanted him to be the scapegoat for her. He wanted him to help her deal with the person behind the scenes. In order to get information from Mo Zhuling, he had pretended to be a brainless person. Who would have thought that Mo Zhuling really thought that he was a brainless person? In the end, did Mo Zhuling really think that he was a brainless person? Could it be that she was the only smart person in the world who could do whatever she wanted and toy with other people? Liu Yu sneered, but there was not much expression on his face. A woman who pretended to be intelligent like Mo Zhuling was the best person to use. However, she did not know it herself. That's enough, let her in. In addition, all of you should control your expressions. Don't let her think that her words are useless. After all, we still need to rely on her to find out the secrets of the true Spill continent. Isn't that right? Liu Yu's expression was indifferent. The Liu family had already sent a letter urging him to make progress. However, it was very difficult for him to find an opportunity to quietly explore the true Spill continent. He had to rely on Mo Zhuling to find a way. Thus, before and just now, he had deliberately left Mo Zhuling. Now, it was time to give that woman a taste of her own medicine. It made her feel that she had already believed her. Yes. As the expert from the Liu family spoke, he suddenly disappeared in front of Liu Yu. When Mo Zhuling received the news, she jumped up from her chair in surprise. Is that so? The young master wants to see me. Good. Take me to see him. She felt smug in her heart. Sure enough, as long as she casually said a few words and pushed the blame to someone else, Liu Yu would be willing to see her. Obviously, he was not willing to let her go. As long as she could convince him and the Liu family, she would be able to regain her strength. Fortunately, she still had a lot of the pill recipes that the Black Fog had given her. She would definitely be able to make the Liu family treat her differently. Humph, she had not planned to give these pill recipes to Liu Yu and the others at this time. This was because they were the foundation of her future in the Liu family. But now, she could only use them in advance. Chapter 2900. It turned out that Grandfather Luo and the others did not appear in the Star Alliance. Instead, they stayed in the true Spill continent with Empress Dowager Yan Shi, Yi Yuan Sect Master, and the Grand Dean. Now, the true Spill continent had completely changed. Boss, since you left, the 4 holy dynasties of the true Spill continent have been unified. Grandfather Luo has assumed the position of Holy Emperor. The passage between the hidden world and the secular world has been completely opened. Now, the people of our Sky Evolution Holy Dynasty can send our talented disciples to the hidden world through our own transmission channel. Ling Tianhan said. That's right, boss. The major sects in the hidden world have been unified. The Yi Yuan sect has taken over. All the sects and forces have been unified. Now, the Grand Dean and Aunt Su Qing have clearly taken over as the sect master and vice sect master. They are in charge of the hidden world. And you have the title of Grand Master. Ha! Yuanhu's voice was particularly gloating. After the emotional roller coaster ride, the crowd slowly returned to their original nature. Especially Yuanhu, who was careless, was the fastest. When Luo Qingtong heard his words, she had just drunk a cup of tea that Ling Yu had poured for her. She almost spat it out. Puff! She hurriedly held her breath and swallowed the tea that was about to enter her mouth. Then, she coughed and asked Yuanhu, "Is what you said true?" What the hell, what kind of title was Grand Master? Moreover, she shouldn't be the one to do it. Wasn't the Yi Yuan sect master still there? And, wait. Luo Qingtong suddenly thought of something and immediately asked Yuanhu and the others, what about the Sky Evolution Holy Dynasty? Oh my god. Please don't give her the title of retired emperor or something like that. She couldn't bear it. Her grandfather was the Holy Emperor of the Sky Evolution Holy Dynasty, and she was the Grand Master. She would be struck by lightning. At this thought, Luo Qingtong's face turned green. Fortunately, the people of the true Spill continent were not so unreliable. Yuanhu and the others smiled at her and said, "No. The old man is the Sky Evolution Saint Emperor, so of course you can't be the retired emperor. You are, the retired princess." Pooh! Luo Qingtong was completely relieved when she heard the "no" in front of them. She immediately took another sip of tea to calm herself down. But this time, this mouthful of tea was not as lucky as the previous one. When Luo Qingtong heard the title, Grand Imperial Princess, she didn't have time to react and spat out a mouthful of tea. Oh my god! You people, she raised her hand and pointed at Yuanhu and the others. The latter grinned and said, "Boss, just give up. It's not that we want you to be the Grand Empress or the Grand Sect Master, but only you can connect the hidden world and the secular world. With you here, no one can surpass Yi Yuan School and Celestial Evolution Holy Dynasty. In the future, no matter how many powerhouses are born in the true Spill continent, they can only bow their heads to the Celestial Evolution Holy Dynasty and Yi Yuan School. Otherwise, some ungrateful wolves might try to overthrow Yi Yuan School and Celestial Evolution Holy Dynasty in the future." Ling Tianhan warmly explained. In the future, these people would leave the true Spill continent. But in the future, there would be more and more powerhouses in the true Spill continent. How could they guarantee that they would be loyal to Luo Qingtong? The Celestial Evolution Holy Dynasty and Yi Yuan School, one inside and one outside, were rooted in the secular world and the hidden world. As long as there was Luo Qingtong's name, no one could touch them. Those who left the hidden world could only be loyal to Luo Qingtong. In that case, even if they could quickly increase their strength through the arena, they would also be left with many hidden injuries and hidden dangers. Those hidden injuries could easily erupt after they fought with others. Or after their strength increased to a certain level, it would hinder their cultivation and make them unable to continue to improve. Luo Qingtong had to find them as soon as possible and eliminate these hidden dangers for them. These guys. Luo Qingtong's heart was both emotional and warm. She knew that Su Yu and the others were not unaware of the dangers of doing this, but they still did it without hesitation. Perhaps it was to increase their strength as soon as possible and find her. Really, a bunch of fools. Luo Qingtong's eyes were slightly bitter. At this moment, with a bang, the door of the room they were in was suddenly kicked open. Chapter 2902. Master. Yin Nyang's expression was agitated. She rushed to Luo Qingtong almost instantly. Looking at the smiling young girl, she was so moved that tears almost instantly fell from her eyes. Master. Her voice was choked with sobs as she held Luo Qingtong in her arms with trembling hands. You're all right, I'm so glad that you're all right. Yin Nyang, like Su Xiaoxiao and the rest, was always worried about Luo Qingtong. As her Guqin spirit seal was rather special, she usually did not travel with Su Xiaoxiao and the rest. Instead, she cultivated by herself. She had just returned from her training when she heard the news that Luo Qingtong had returned. She immediately rushed over. Behind her was a handsome middle-aged man who was about 40 years old. The man's face was very elegant and handsome, but his eyes contained a trace of dominance. At this moment, hearing Yin Nyang call Luo Qingtong master, a trace of hostility and anger flashed across the elegant middle-aged man's eyes. However, he quickly covered it up. At this moment, looking at the emotional Yin Nyang who had thrown herself into Luo Qingtong's arms, he said in a deep voice, Yin Nyang, since you're here to meet an old friend, I'll go back first. Everyone, I'll take my leave first. As he said this, he immediately nodded politely to Luo Qingtong, Su Xiaoxiao and the rest, then turned and left. Luo Qingtong looked at his back as he left. She frowned slightly and asked, who is he? If she did not see wrongly, the man's gaze seemed to be hostile. Luo Qingtong's observation skills were top-notch. Even though she could not use her blood eye at this moment, she still saw the cold light and anger that flashed across the middle-aged man's eyes. If she did not see wrongly, that cold light and anger were clearly directed at her. When Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu pursed their lips and laughed. His name is Lin Yi, a teacher from the Star Alliance Academy. He fell in love with Aunt Yen at first sight and is pursuing her. Yes, Teacher Lin is very powerful and treats Aunt Yen very well. Boss, look at Aunt Yen's cultivation. As they spoke, they pointed at Yin Nyang. At this moment, Luo Qingtong realized that Yin Nyang's cultivation had advanced to the monarch state. Although she had just broken into the monarch state and her state had not fully stabilized, she was indeed at the beginning of the monarch state. Her face was filled with surprise as she looked at Yin Nyang and said, Yin Nyang, your strength. Yin Nyang's soul was damaged previously and her body was severely damaged. In the end, Luo Qingtong used the wood spirit essence, her blood eye, and the heavenly spirit would leaf's effect to painstakingly let her cultivate. She started much later than Su Xiaoxiao and the rest. Even if she used the special characteristics of the Guqin spirit seal, she should not have improved so much compared to Su Xiaoxiao and the rest. When Luo Qingtong knew that Su Xiaoxiao and the rest had advanced to the monarch state, she was shocked. She did not expect Yin Nyang to be even more frightening. She had actually jumped to the monarch state. Wasn't she making a huge leap this time? One must know that it was not so easy to break through the monarch state's threshold. Luo Qingtong had broken through because of an opportunity in the abandoned continent. Did Yin Nyang also encounter an opportunity? Chapter 2903. It's Teacher Lin. He fell in love with Aunt Yen at first sight. He knew that Aunt Yen desperately wanted to increase her strength, so he accompanied her to various mystic realms and experiential training grounds. Once, Aunt Yen encountered a Zither soul seal inheritance. The two of them narrowly escaped death. When they finally came out of that mystic realm, Aunt Yan's strength had risen to the level of a saint venerable. Just a few days ago, she finally comprehended another Zither soul seal inheritance, and her strength rose to the level of a saint venerable. As Su Xiaoxiao and the others spoke, they felt a burst of envy in their hearts. Aunt Yan's luck was really too good. She actually encountered a ruin inheritance, and it was also her Zither soul seal inheritance. Her strength had risen by leaps and bounds, and she had surpassed them by too much. Hey, how come we don't have such an admirer? Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu both sighed, their expressions exaggerated. Hu Yannyang's expression was ugly. She glared at the two of them and said, "Don't talk nonsense, I don't have that kind of relationship with him." Yes, we know. Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu made faces at her and said, "You have to wait until you find Chu Lingfeng and solve his father's problem before you consider being together with Teacher Lin." We know. But Teacher Lin definitely knows. Didn't he say that he would wait for you? He will wait until you and Chu Lingfeng accept him. The words of the two caused Yan Yang's face to become even more embarrassed. In the end, she became angry out of shame and chased after Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu. The three of them were in a mess in the hall. Luo Qingtong looked at them with a smile, but her heart was thoughtful. Luo Qingtong didn't stay with Su Xiaoxiao and the others for too long. Star Alliance Academy had a rule that outsiders were not allowed to stay overnight. Of course, if Luo Qingtong wanted to make an exception, it wouldn't be difficult. In any case, the people of True Spill Continent had already made enough exceptions in Star Alliance Academy. What's more, other people might not know who Luo Qingtong was, but how could the higher-ups of the Star Alliance not know? If she stayed here, no one would come to Su Xiaoxiao's place to make trouble. But Luo Qingtong didn't stay overnight. Because there was something she wanted to verify. Luo Qingtong told Su Xiaoxiao and the others about her experience in the Tianfeng domain and Chu Lingfeng situation. After letting them know about her situation during this period, she left directly. After she left, a figure quietly followed her. Schwa. Luo Qingtong's figure quickly left the Star Alliance Academy and appeared in a remote alley. Just as she was about to rush forward, a figure silently appeared in front of her. You. Luo Qingtong's figure stopped. She looked at the figure that appeared in front of her. Under the moonlight, the figure was elongated and his face was completely exposed. It's you. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She looked at the figure in front of her that was completely covered by the moonlight. The face that was revealed was Lin Yi's. You really are hostile to me. She didn't sense it wrongly at that time. Your senses are very sharp, but so what? It can't help you now. Lin Yi's voice was cold. He didn't take Luo Qingtong's words seriously. He said in a deep voice, I won't kill you, but you must set Yan Yang and Chu Lingfeng free. Chapter 2904. Is that so? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him. The other party's hostility was very strange. She didn't know why, but there was no killing intent in his hostility. If not for this, Luo Qingtong would not have specially made this trip to verify it. She would have revealed it when they were in the Star Alliance Academy. After all, as long as she said it, Su Xiaoxiao and Yan Yang would believe her without hesitation. It was because the other party's hostility didn't have killing intent, but seemed like pure dislike and hostility. That was why she came here. Because Yan Yang did seem to have feelings for this Lin Yi. She had suffered too much in the past, and it wasn't easy for her to walk out of the pain. Luo Qingtong didn't want to ruin her happiness so easily. But she had to confirm that the other party's purpose of approaching her wasn't bad. Otherwise, it would hurt Yan Yang. That was why Luo Qingtong came here. She knew that if the other party was hostile to her, he would definitely pay close attention to Su Xiaoxiao's movements. Once she left, the other party would follow her. It seemed that she guessed right. But the other party followed her just to make such a request. Was it because he loved her because of her, or was it because of their deep love? Luo Qingtong stared at the back of his ears and smiled. Okay, as long as you take off your mask, I'll promise you. How about it? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. The relationship between her, Chu Lingfeng, and Yan Yang had long surpassed the master and servant contract of the heavens and earth. She had told Yan Yang and the others that as long as they were willing, she could break the oath at any time. But since Yan Yang and the others weren't willing, Luo Qingtong naturally let them be. She didn't expect Lin Yi to come here just for this. It seemed that he was sincere to Yan Yang. But to be on the safe side, Luo Qingtong still wanted to see his real face. That's right, Lin Yi had disguised himself. When Luo Qingtong saw him for the first time, she could tell. Impossible. Lin Yi's voice was cold. He subconsciously covered the mask behind his head. His face must never appear in front of Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, he would not be able to hide it from the other party. You have no right to negotiate with me. Immediately remove the master-servant relationship with them. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. He said coldly. At this moment, a voice filled with anger and disappointment rang out. Really? I'd like to see how you're going to be rude to her. As she spoke, Yan Yang's figure had already appeared not far from the alley. She had been instructed by Luo Qingtong to follow her after she went out. She didn't know what he meant at first, but when she heard that he was going to harm Luo Qingtong as soon as she arrived, the anger in her heart surged. Lin Yi. I didn't expect you to approach me with ulterior motives. She held the white jade zither in her hand and walked towards Lin Yi step by step. What right do you have to harm her? She's my master. Lin Yi, you're so good at hiding. Today, I'll never let you go. Yan Yang's heart was burning with rage. No wonder when Lin Yi left, Luo Qingtong specifically asked who he was. She should be vigilant because her master never spoke casually. Why did she suddenly notice Lin Yi? Chapter 2905. Yan Yang's heart was bleeding. Almost at the same time, she raised her 5 fingers. Clang! She plucked the white jade zither in her hand. The sound of the zither was sonorous, turning into countless sharp blades that flew towards Luo Qingtong and the man floating in the air. Yan Yang, listen to my explanation. Lin Yi didn't expect Yan Yang to appear suddenly. He looked at Luo Qingtong and suddenly realized that this was a trick of hers. She had seen through his hostility towards her, so she purposely left the Star Alliance Academy at night, luring him to block her at this time. Then, Yan Yang arrived and found out everything. But, he didn't get close to her to harm her and that girl. Lin Yi's heart was in a mess. Even if he could easily dodge Yan Yang's attack, he couldn't because of the panic in his heart. He was afraid that he would accidentally counterattack and hurt Yan Yang. Yan Yang, listen to my explanation. I don't want to listen. Yan Yang's voice was cold. A man who deliberately got close to you and did everything for you, but in the end, when you weren't around, he secretly killed your master. Why would she listen to a man like this? It wasn't that he didn't know how important Luo Qingtong was to her. But he still did it to her. How could she believe him now? This man purposely got close to her so that he could attack her master. In Yan Yang's hand, the zither strings were like sharp blades, and in an instant, they turned into thousands of blades and attacked Lin Yi. Slash! Lin Yi dodged awkwardly. In an instant, his face was cut open, but no blood flowed out. That was his disguise mask, it was cut open. Boom! Yan Yang's zither stopped for a moment. When Lin Yi's face was cut open, her body trembled violently and her whole body shook violently. When she saw that there was no blood flowing out from the wound, but instead, there were two pieces of something that looked like skin. Yen Yang instantly bit her lips fiercely. His gaze on Lin Yi was even colder and more painful than before. Even this face of yours is fake. How dare you say that you didn't deliberately approach me for the sake of our master? Boom! Clang! 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 The energy in Yen Yang's body exploded, and countless musical blades flew towards Lin Yi like locusts. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and sighed softly. He lifted his hand and removed the mask from his face. Yes, I hid my identity and plotted to get close to you. But it's not for her. Yen Yang, do you still remember me? Yen Yang, do you still remember me? Lin Yi's voice echoed in her ears. Yen Yang's body was completely frozen. Her fingers stopped on the strings of the zither. Without her spiritual energy, the flying swords that filled the sky had completely disappeared. It's you, her voice trembled as she looked at the man floating in the air. After Lin Yi took off his disguise, what was revealed was an extremely handsome, domineering, and cold face. This face was close to 80% similar to Chu Lingfeng's, but it was more mature and resolute than Chu Lingfeng's face. So this Lin Yi was Chu Lingfeng's father, the head of Tianfeng Chu House, Chu Tianyi. Chapter 2906. Yen Yang, he smiled bitterly and looked at Yen Yang. If I appear in front of you with this face, will you accept me? Hu Yen Yang's eyes were red and her mind was in chaos. She was too confused. Lin Yi turned out to be him. It turned out to be him. She hated him for half of her life and couldn't forget him for half of her life. He ruined half of her life, even if she knew that he had no choice but to be set up by Baiyu. But in Hu Yen Yang's heart, she still couldn't let it go. And now, this man appeared in front of her. What did he want to do? He approached her. Did he want to take the opportunity to win her heart and then take her son away? What kind of intentions did he have? Hu Yen Yang's eyes were red and finally, she fiercely pressed the zither strings. In the chaos, the sharp sound almost pierced the eardrums. She pulled Luo Qingtong and quickly disappeared in front of Chu Tianyi. The latter's momentum was monstrous. After he tore off his mask, he didn't hide his cultivation anymore. The strength of the 9th level of the human martial realm was enough for him to easily catch up with Hu Yenyang, but he didn't do so. So what if he caught up with her? She still couldn't accept him. As for him, it was definitely not because he wanted to hurt her that he came to this desolate and remote star desolation behind everyone's back. Yes, everyone in the Chu family didn't know that Chu Tianyi already knew the location of the true Spill continent. The reason why he pretended not to know was because he didn't want people to have a chance to find out the whereabouts of this place. His stupid son thought that he really didn't know. If he knew that he was already in the star wilderness and was with Yen Yang, he didn't know how big of a storm it would cause. Chu Tianyi originally thought that he would slowly get close to Yen Yang and then let her accept him. Then, he would find a suitable opportunity to tell her his identity. This way, even if she rejected him, it wouldn't be too deep. But now, all his efforts were in vain. If he had known earlier, he would have endured his hostility towards the girl. However, how could someone as ambitious and ruthless as Chu Tianyi allow his son and wife to become someone else's slaves? He didn't know the real relationship between Luo Qingtong, Chu Lingfeng, and Hu Yenyang. He only thought that Luo Qingtong wanted Chu Lingfeng and Hu Yenyang to recognize her as their master, so he was full of hostility towards her. However, he didn't know that Luo Qingtong was the salvation of Yenyang and Chu Lingfeng. Even if she asked them to leave, they would never leave. At this time, Luo Qingtong and Hu Yenyang had already rushed back to the Star Alliance Academy. Su Xiaoxiao, Ling Tianhan, and the others were about to go to bed when they saw the two of them running back. Hu Yannyang's face was filled with panic, and she looked as if she had lost her soul. In an instant, she was so scared that the soldiers and horses were thrown into chaos, and everyone crawled up. "What's wrong, boss? What's wrong with Aunt Yen?" Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu looked at Luo Qingtong and asked softly. They didn't dare to provoke Hu Yannyang anymore. "Nothing, it's just," Luo Qingtong scratched her head and didn't know how to explain this matter. She just wanted to see where Lin Yi came from and whether he was suitable to be by Yannyang's side. If he wasn't suitable, she would let Yannyang leave quickly so that she wouldn't be hurt too deeply. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.